We're here to explore the Kabbalistic secrets of the Hebrew language. And what's amazing is we live in a period where we've seen the revival of Hebrew as a spoken language, as the language of our people, which, although Hebrew was studied, used for Torah study and prayer for the last 2,000 years, it wasn't used for daily conversation. And our exploration into Hebrew is going to go beyond modern Hebrew. Eliezer ben Yehuda dedicated his life to the revival of the modern Hebrew language and its adaptation to the modern world. But we're going to look at the Hebrew of the Torah, the classical Hebrew, what is called Lashon HaKodesh, the holy language. And we're going to see why it's called that. Because if you think about language, what is language? Language is communication. It's a series of words, and which are really sounds, which are associated to an object or to an act or to a concept. And then those words are combined to form sentences. Now, we also have letters which are combined to form words with their sounds. But in most languages, letters are random words. Why is a car called a car? Why is a tree called a tree? There's nothing intrinsic to the word. But we're going to see that sometimes that's not the case. Interesting anecdote is nylon. Is that a random word? So it seems that the DuPont company who innovated nylon had offices in London and New York. So they called it Nylon, New York, London. Some words are onomatopoeias, like a snake has the hissing sound in the word itself. So we see that there is a conscious reason why it was associated with that. However, most words are random now. Some people say that dog is God backwards, but you have to be a dog lover to really see significance in that. Now with Hebrew, we're going to see something extraordinary. And we talked before about how old it is and how it's a holy language. So here we come to the story of the Hebrew language. And here we have all the letters as they're written out in the classic script by a scribe. The origins of Hebrew is wrapped up in a Kabbalistic secret. If you look at the first verse of the Torah and second verse, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So it was through speech, we are told, that the world was created. And for this, we turn to the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, the earliest Kabbalistic text. And it says, with 32 paths of wisdom, God created his universe. Now, what are those 32 paths? They are, the next paragraph will tell us, the 10 Kabbalistic sefirot, Kabbalistic energies of the divine, and the 22 letters of the alphabet. Now, it also says that they were created with Sefer, which is the text of the letter, Mispar, which is the number, and we'll have to see what that is, and with Sipor, with the language, with communication, with the pronunciation of the letters. Now, this is also a hint. Let's remember that in Hebrew, by and large, most letters are consonants. The vowels will be placed under the letters. So the first verse in the Torah, Bereshit bar Elokim et hashamayim va'ataretz, when God began to create the heaven and earth. There's one word in here which was not translated, et. What does it mean? It actually means nothing. It notes that the word following will be the direct object. However, the Maggid of Mezerich, the student of the Baal Shem Tov, tells us that the et is the aleph to the taf, the first letter to the last letter. In other words, in the beginning, God created et. He created the Hebrew letters in the process of creating the heavens and earth. So what does this mean? What does it mean God created the world with the Hebrew letters? So what we're going to see is that each letter will be associated with or refers to a deeper concept. We'll see that in the name of the letter. We'll see that sometimes in the shape of the letter, and we'll see that in the idea of the letter itself, and sometimes in the numerical value of the letter. And since it says God could create the world with Hebrew letters, if we now take the Hebrew letters and understand what they are and what their power is, then there's one step, one more implication, which is that we could use those letters because they have power. And in fact, that's what the Talmud tells us was done to build the temple, to build the tabernacle, the portable temple in the desert. And this is from the Babylonian Talmud Brachot, the first volume. Rav Yehuda said that Rav said, Bitzalel, who was the artisan who created the temple, knew how to join the letters which with heaven and earth were created. From where did he derive it? It said about him that God said, I filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge. What are those words? Chachma, Bina, V'dat. And yes, the first letters spell out the word Chabad. That's where it's taken from. But these three dimensions of understanding were endowed into Betzalel. So he understands these secrets to the very foundation of the creation of the world. And through those, he was able to create himself. So after we finish and give you all the insights, what will you be able to create? Well, we'll have to see. Now, here we have the numerical value of the letters. And let's first present this. We see that before what are called Arab numerals were used, what were used to count? How did Jews use to count? And we counted with letters. And each letter had a numerical value or a unit value. Aleph to Tet is the 1 to 9. Then the following letters are the decibels. So Yud is 10, Chaf is 20. So if you want 22, it would be Chaf Bet. Or 33 is Lamed Gimel. In fact, Lag BaOmer, the holiday, is the 33rd day of the counting after Passover. So we see even Jewish holidays take the names from the numerical value of the letters. And the Hebrew year, Taf Pei Hey, is Taf 400, Shin 300, Pei 80, Hey is 5, which is 785, and it's 5785. That's the Hebrew date. So when you see that Hebrew date, now you understand why it's written in Hebrew letters and how that could be a number. Okay, let's now turn to the letters themselves, because here we're going to start to uncover the deeper understanding. And of course, we're going to start with the Aleph. Aleph is the first letter. Aleph is the value 1. 1 is God, the Almighty, the unity of all. Now, there's another principle we have to share, which is, and this is also a Kabbalistic principle, that the way to understand a word is to look at the first time it's used in the Torah and at the beginning of a word. So the first time Aleph is used is Bereshit bara Elokim. Elokim is God's name. Now, and two other things about Aleph. If you take the word itself for the letter, Aleph, right? Aleph means what? So Aleph means two things. It means 1,000. And in fact, 1,000 is the highest number in Hebrew. 10,000 is Asarat Elafim. You don't have a word for 1,000,000. And so it denotes the greatest number, that which is the greatest, which is God the Almighty. Aleph is also Aluf, which is a general, which is the individual or the entity that has all of the power. And we view God as all-powerful, omnipotent. That's also a hint designating to the Almighty, to God. If we look at the numerical value of the word itself, Aleph is 1, Lamed is 30, Pei is 80. That's 111. It brings you back to a series of ones. And finally, in the form of the letter, we have a vav, the diagonal, and two yuds on the top and the bottom. What does that designate? The vav is vav achibor. Vav is a connecting letter, top to bottom, one word to another, and top to bottom and bottom to top, God joining heaven and earth. And the two yuds are also letter in the divine name, the yud, hey, vav, hey, which we'll get to. We'll talk about that. And the numerical value of yud, yud, and vav is 26, which is the numerical value of the divine name, yud, hey. So the Aleph joins heaven and earth with God, divinity above and divinity below. And you also have an Aleph, Adam and Avraham, two of the greatest figures of our spiritual ancestors. So there we have for the Aleph. Now we come to Beit. What is Beit? If you look at Beit, the word for Beit is Bayit, which is a house. Now the house, if you look at the shape of the letter, it looks like a house, right? It has the floor, a wall, a roof, and a door. So Beit is also to build. It's to create. The first time it's found in the Torah in the first letter. Now it's in Breshit, but the B in Breshit is a prefix. What does Beit prefix mean? In, the same idea. House is what's inside. The first word to use Beit is bara, to create, to build. Bone is to build. Livana is a brick. Bina is building knowledge. It's a type of inductive logic. And what we see also is that the words that are derived from that root, from that letter, will also have a similar meaning because, once again, the letter represents a concept. When we say God created the world with the Hebrew language, what does it mean? It means that each letter is a concept that was used as a fundamental building block of the universe. Now, what we're also going to see is that the letters then will be combined together to form words, and the words will be a combination of the concepts that we'll find in both letters. So Ben is a son. How is that? Bet is once again to build. Nun is a joining letter because it's the final nun is a straight line. It goes below the line where you write on. So we're seeing it's joining what's below to what's above. So what is Ben? When you're building from one generation to the next. And in Judaism, you are building. There's a mitzvah to teach your children. We pass on our values to the next generation. We're building for the future. Daughters as well have the same concept because daughters in plural is banot, which in the Hebrew of daughters. So that also has the Beit Nun. Beit is also a special letter because it has Breshit and Brachot. The next letter, Gimel. Gimel, a numerical value is 3. Now, Ligmol, Gamol is to reward, to nourish, to provide for. Gimel is the female because it's nurturing. It's Gmilut Chasadim, which means to do good deeds, to perform good deeds towards another, to give towards another. And the shape of the Gimel is Gamal, which is the same word, which is a camel. And if you look even at the shape of it, it's the long neck with the head at the top, and a camel as well. It's able to store water and to help the person riding it to survive. Now, Gamol is also Ligamal, which is when Sarah weaned Isaac. So it's to nurse, but it's also to wean. It's the Gimel with Mal, which is like Milah, circumcision, to cut off. So it's cutting off the providing of the milk. So there we have our Gimel. The next letter, Daled. Dalet is a delet, which is a door, and it's shaped like a door, and the two edges, and of course, on the left side, it's connected to the wall here. Numerical value is 4. And Dal is also a poor person. So the idea, the Talmud tells us, of Gimel Dalet is Gomel Dalim, where you are providing for the poor. And if you look, the foot of the Gimel is extended to the Dalet, right? And so the person is giving to the person in need, but the Dalet is turned away when it receives, because the best way to give is anonymously. That's the way that we should give. That's teaching something about charity as well. Okay, our next letter, Hey. Hey is a very special letter. Hey is the letter of 5, numerical value of 5. The first time it's in the Torah, Ba'aretz Haita tohu uvohu. The earth was null and void. Hey is from the verb to be, but it's also the main letter of God's name. Yud Hey Vav Hey. It's twice in the divine name. And we see that when the letter Hey is given, like when it was Avram's name became Avraham, God added a Hey into his name, it elevated him spiritually. Sarai was changed to Sarah. So what happened there? The Yud, which is 10, was divided into 2 Heys, 5 and 5. One Hey went to Sarah, from Sarai to Sarah. The other Hey went to Abraham, and we're told that the man's blessing comes from his wife, and she helped to spiritually elevate him. So it also says that God created the world to come with one Hey, and this world with the other Hey. Another thing about the Hey, which we see in the Talmud, Hey is the letter of free choice. How do you see that? Hey is the direction, the place we're supposed to be in. If you want to escape, the only way is down, and that's not a good thing. But there's always an opening in the side to come back into the divine letter, to come back to God. So that's our letter Hey. The next one is Vav. Now, Vav, as we mentioned before, is chibur. In Hebrew, when you put a Vav in the beginning of a word, it means and, right? It's joining the 2 words. So the numerical value is 6. It's the Vav chibur, connecting. It connects the 2 Heys of God's name, the upper Hey and the lower Hey, which we just saw. And it's connected to what's around us. Hey is all 6 directions, top, down, front, right, left, back, and forward. And that idea that the Almighty is everywhere around us, because the Hey, once again, the Vav, once again, is in the divine name. And then another interesting insight, we said that the Gimel is the female. We're going to see the next letter, the Zion, is the male. And what is a couple? Zug, the Vav connecting the Zion male and the Gimel female. Very beautiful insight. Okay, Zion. Zion's numerical value of 7. That's spiritual completion. It's the Shabbat. The first word in the Torah that uses Zion with its first letter is Zera, which is seed, which is the male. It's Zan is to provide, right? To take the Zion of providing and the Nun connecting to others. But you also have Klei Zion, which means a weapon, a sword. And you can use the Zion in 2 ways. If it's used in the positive way, you use it as Zera to provide, then it provides lechem. If you take it as a weapon, that is lochem. So it can change that word from either lechem to lochem. The next letter, chet. Chet is numerical value 8. Chet means sin, but in Judaism, sin is not full of guilt. Sin means to miss the mark. Chet means to miss the mark. Achti means to miss. And that's our view of how when we mess up. Now, the chet can go either way as well. It can go towards chayim, which is life, or towards choshech, which is darkness. And if you see, the scribe writes the letter with 2 Zions. So the question is, which Zion are you going to be? Once again, the Zion of life or the Zion of destruction. So the next letter is Pei. Pei literally means the mouth. And if you look at it, the shape of the Pei is in fact the mouth. You see the head, the nose going in, and then the mouth below it. The numerical value is 80. In the Pei, the mouth is the opening. It's the only letter that cannot be pronounced if you don't open your mouth. And it hints to what's the first word in the Torah that has the Pei? Al pnei hamayim, the face of the waters. Pei is panim, it's the face. But it's also pnim, what is inside. Why is that? Because the face, the panim, which is outside, expresses the pnim of our inside, right? We read a person from their face. You also have the panim is the external, the Pei is the externalizing, but the pnim, what is inside it? We see a bet. A bet is inside. If you look at the white part inside the letter, that's a bet, which is a bayit, which is the internal, inside the house. And the tradition is that, and you can check this, I guess, that you never have a Pei and a bet in the same word. Now, bifnim has both, but the ba is a prefix in the panim. Okay. Kabbalistically, the shape of the letter has a chaf. If you look at the bottom, the right, and the top, that's a chaf. Inside is the yud. So the chaf is a kli, the vessel, which holds the yud, which holds spirituality inside. And that's a fundamental Kabbalistic principle that every spiritual energy needs a vessel in this world to hold it. Our next letter is resh. Resh shin. Resh is Rosh, is the head, the leader, the entity, numerical value 200. And we're going to use now the resh and the pei to understand how we already referenced this concept of combining the letters to form a more sophisticated concept. And at the same time, we're going to be able to break down a word by looking at the combination of letters, right? When you learn Hebrew, the first thing you learn is find the root, right? Find the root, take off the prefix, the suffix, maybe a letter added in for the verbal form, and you can get to the root of what the three-letter root. And once you have that, you know conceptually it's related to whatever that three-letter root designates. Here we're going to do this with letters. Each letter has a principle, and by combining the two letters, we're going to see that it's going to give us in the host of different words built upon that conceptual foundation. So what do you have? Like you have lehifared, peret, which is to separate, peresh dalet, which is to bring out and then to break up. The entity, the resh, is brought out into different parts. You have para, which is to multiply, which is once again the ultimate entity extending itself beyond itself. You have a parach, the flowers, where many times you have many flowers growing on one stem. You have pazar, which is mefuzarim, which is open cities, unwalled, the breaking through the entity. You have prat, the details, which is breaking down, once again, things into their sub details. You have para, which is to uncover, once again, opening something up. You have paratz, which is an opening or a robbery. You have param, which is to tear, which is a wound, which is like to tear open a seam. And you have lefaresh. Now, lefaresh is very interesting because when we study Torah, we read the meforshim, which is usually commentary, translated as commentaries. But lefaresh, parash, means to draw out the meanings from the text. Once again, to open it up and take the parts out from it. And that's how we understand our commentators do not project ideas in. They're drawing out the inherent ideas from within the text. So there you see how we can build letter concepts to form words, and then we can, if we understand the fundamentals of those, we can build we can understand a whole host of words that will come out of it. Another letter we're going to present is the tzadi. Tzadi is 300. It is the foundation for the word tzaddik, which is a just person. What is a just person? It's a person who knows how to weigh out the different factors and to choose, be on the right side. And sure enough, tzad means side. And the tzadi also, we're going to see, it's going to be to, when the scale goes on one side, what is it? It's being decisive. It's opening something up. So the pei tzadi will be the coming to one side, to resolving something by opening it up. So paratz is to open up, to use force. Patzach is also to open up, opening up. Patzah is a wound. Patzatz, if you double the letter, it reinforces the concept. So that's opening with great force, which is an explosion. And we're going to end with two teachings about the letters. This is found in the Babylonian Talmud in Shabbat 104, where we have a whole page which talks about the letters. These letters form the word sheker, which means lies. What does it say? Shin kufre. So first of all, they're out of order. It should be kufre shin. And so they're all mixed up. And furthermore, if you look, the letters all rest upon one point. The shin, when it's written out in script by the scribe, is only has a one point that it comes to at the bottom. So the Talmud tells us, sheker ein lo raglayim, that falsehood has no legs, it won't fall up. Eventually, it will fall apart and self-destruct. And on the other hand, emet, truth, is the first letter, the middle letter, and the last letter of the entire alphabet. It spans the whole reality. And you see also it's strongly rooted. It has feet. There's 2 feet or a base in the case of the mem. And furthermore, if you take the first letter in the middle, that's aim, that's mother. And then you take the middle letter and the final letter, that's mem taf, which is death. So the beginning of the alphabet to the middle is mother, which is the beginning of life, and mem taf is the death, is the end of life, to the end of the alphabet. Finally, we're going to end with this. And the idea we said before is that if you understand the power of the letters, and the letters had the power for God to create, then potentially the Kabbalistic secret could be that one could unlock secrets of creation. When Abraham, our father, looked, saw, understood, probed, engraved, and carved, he was successful in creation. As it says, the souls he made in Haran, which refers to the people who he drew to his teachings. The hint is that he might have even made their souls through the letters. There is the story of the Maharal of Prague, who made a golem, a human figure, through the combination of the letters. The Talmud also says the rabbis of the Talmud made a being with the letters. And it tells us, this is Sefer Yetzirah, that Abraham bound the 22 letters of the Torah to his tongue, and God revealed to him his mystery. He did it with fire, breath, the 7 planets, and the 12 constellations. And we'd like to thank AI for its beautiful, creative, imaginative visuals on this and on the other visuals we used. And based on this tradition, there are those who say that Sefer Yetzirah, the oldest book of Kabbalah, goes all the way back to Abraham. But the implications of this are scary, because even if we're not making worlds or souls through our letters, in a sense we are making souls, because when we use language, language has an enormous power. And we don't say in Judaism, sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. First of all, words can very much hurt a person. And in the Torah, you're not allowed to use words to hurt a person's feelings. That's a prohibition in the Torah. Furthermore, we believe you give a blessing, you verbalize something positive to someone from God, you're bringing down the Almighty's blessing. We have the power to create worlds by bringing God's blessing into the world. And God forbid the opposite. You use your words negatively towards someone, and it's a terrible thing. You speak Lashon Hara, you gossip, you can be destroying a person, not just in the reputation, but even spiritually, the energy, you are causing harm to them. And so what it's telling us that words are very powerful. That's why when we pray, we're supposed to say the words on our lips. Jewish prayer is not meditation. When we say the Shema, we should say it up to the point where we hear it in our ears. And so words have great power. Let's use them well and use them properly. And thinking about how all that we can create through the positive use of our letters. And we hope also that this has shown us how we can have a deeper understanding of the Hebrew language, of the concepts of life, and of our Holy Torah, eventually studying in the original, which is always a goal to master our Hebrew so we can speak Hebrew in Israel and so we can read the Torah in its text.